Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In today's lesson, we're going to continue on with our text-based game. Now, I wasn't intending to make a two-part tutorial on this, but when I was watching over the video on YouTube, I felt like I missed out some points, and I was going to include annotations, but they just wouldn't explain, in detail like how I usually do. And I just wasn't happy with putting up annotations, just because some people, like myself, remove annotations because many YouTubers spam the entire screen with so many links to sponsors and other videos and stuff. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to learn how to create our save game and our load game. So when you quit the game and you start the game up again, it'll pick up where you left off using an autosave feature. So you can either do it as an autosave feature, or you can create another if and else and then save the game whenever the user types in save game or whatever. But I'm going to go with autosave because autosave is more modern and that's what most games use. So obviously you want to take the new approach in text-based games and implement some of the newer features in them. So so what we're going to be doing is we're going to learn how to create a save game and a load game using a tutorial I did earlier. I'm not going to explain in full detail about the properties file because I made a video. I'm not going to essentially redo the video, but I'm going to include a link right here for you guys to go check it out. And make sure to click it. If you don't have annotations enabled, you guys can go check out the description. I'll put the link to that video there, and you guys can learn how to create your own properties or your config file, because I made that video specifically for this tutorial, the text-based game tutorial. So because I missed out 2 videos this week, I missed out 2 days I should say, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to upload 8 videos, so 1 today, 1 tomorrow, and then 1 the following day, just to make up, because I was a bit busy yesterday and I missed my schedule because I did get a bit tired. So we're also going to be doing things like how to cater for user input. Like what we did here, we created a yes and no option using 1 and 2. So what we want to do is, if the user types in like the number 3 or the number 4 or mistypes and types in a character, this bit of code that handles it will not actually be able to work because it only handles 1 and 2. So we're going to add something like an else, like if it's not 1 or if it's not 2, it'll do something else, which in this case it'll probably print out a random message saying you typed in the wrong thing, and then it'll re-ask the question again, which will be this question here. So okay, let's get started with the video. So over here I've created a new class called gamesave.java. Just a simple class, has 2 methods, public void save game, which takes in a point, and that is the point in the game that you want to save at. So it'll be like at question 1 or 1a or 2 or 2a or whatever, what we did in the last tutorial. And it saves it in a variable called save point. Not really a variable, but it saves it as it basically says save point is equal to whatever point the game is at in a file called config.prop. Then load game basically loads up the same file, config.prop, and then it gets the property at the save point variable, which if it's 0, it'll load up question 0. Remember, if it's 0, it'll load up case 0. If it's 1, it'll load up case 1, or whatever point of the game you're currently at. So that's the 2 variables, save game and load game, and the name of the class is called gamesave. So create the same file. You guys can copy and paste it. Not really copy and paste, but you guys can copy it on my screen. Also, I never said this in any of my other videos, but my videos are actually really small. A 22-minute video only is about 40 megabytes in 1080p. So even if you have a slow internet connection, you'll still be able to stream 40 megabytes for a 20-minute video. So this video will probably be like 30 megabytes. So if you guys want to, you can watch it in 1080p, even if your internet's slow. You'll definitely be able to watch it in 720p, even if you're on like a dial-up connection or something. So make sure you watch it in HD. So let's go back to our main game. And right over here, after our public class main game, we're going to type in public static game save, and then give it a random variable name, gs, is equal to new game save. And what we're doing here is we're creating an object of the game save class, so we can access these 2 methods. So click Ctrl S, and now over here where it says question is equal to 0, we're going to remove the 0 and we're going to type in gs dot load game. So now it's going to load the game at whatever point whatever point the save point is currently at. So because we don't actually have the file to load at the beginning, what you guys can do in this catch exception you can run this try, which will create the game, and it will create it at a point called 0 or whatever. So let's do that now. Let's actually copy this. I was going to create a file. You guys can see I created a config.prop file, but let's delete that. So let's copy this code in the try and catch, and then paste it into this catch method. Not really a method, but just paste it in the catch. We're going to remove point with 0. We're going to replace it with 0. And we got an error here. Variable e is already defined. So let's change this to ex, and then that's it. Okay, so that's going to create the file, but then it's still not going to load the game, because remember, we're trying to read the file. It's got an exception, and then it's not going to do anything. So what we have to do is we have to copy and paste this try and catch again. But the try and catch that we're going to be copying and pasting is this one right here to actually to load the file. So we're going to go this try, and then we're going to put it right in here and space it out nicely, because it does look very messy. We have an error, try without catch, no problem. Type in a catch, and then type in exception exe. Okay, and then you can just put it as IO exception. So now when we run it, you guys can see it's created the file, and we have now started our game. But just to make sure, we're just going to go and delete this config.prop file, and we're going to try relaunching it. So relaunch, and there we go. You can see it works perfectly. So you don't actually have to send a config.prop file with your game, and then you can continue with the game as if it was normal. So we've been able to create a simple load game, but that's not good enough. So what we're going to do is, this does look very messy. You guys can neaten this up in your own time, put in some comments and stuff. So what's going on in this bit of code is it's trying to load the file. However, the file doesn't exist, so it's going to throw an exception. So the exception will almost definitely be that the file doesn't exist, but you can add more exceptions if you want. So if the file doesn't exist, it runs a try, which then creates the file by essentially creating a save game. So it creates that file, and once it's created the file, it essentially tries the same bit of code again, which is to load the file. So it tries to make the file. Once the file is made successfully, then it tries to load the file. If the load file has been done correctly, you'll have a config.prop file, and your game will start just fine. So that's our load game, and we only need to load the game once when you start up. Now we can deal with the save game. So let's go down to question 1. Okay, so at question 1, what we have to do after we say question is equal to 1a, you basically just type in gs.savegame, and then in the brackets you type in 1a, or whatever the question currently is at. So what's happening is it's saving this game. Let's open up the config.prop file to see what it looks like. You guys can see it says save point is equal to 0. Okay, so it starts off at question 0. Then you answer question 0, it goes into case 1, and then you type in what your name is. Then it saves the game at question 1a. So if you look into the config.prop, the 0 will change to 1a. And then if you quit the game after this, once you've typed in your name and you relaunch the game, gs.loadGame will be loading 1a instead of 0. So that'll make the game start off at case 1a, which is this bit of code right here. So it'll say you are still a bit groggy from the drinks, whatever. So let's run the game, and then type in your name, and now let's exit. Now let's run the game again, and it should start off at this bit of code right here. So run it, and there you go. You guys can see it starts off where we left off last time. So it asks you if it obviously it's not the best point in the game to save, because it's just obviously not the best. You guys can tell why, but you can type in no, you can type in yes, and the game functions just as it normally would. So this will be useful for an autosave feature. You can basically put this at the end of every question. So where it says question is equal to 1a, you just put game save is equal to 1a. Where it says question is equal to 2, you put underneath that game save, and inside the brackets you put in 2. If we open up the config.prop, you guys will see the 0 has been changed to 1a. So the game will launch at 1a all the time, obviously until you add another autosave feature or whatever. So that's great. Now we know how to save and load the game. I just provided a basic example. Obviously you wouldn't save the game at this point. you'll only start saving the game once you get to case 2a, where it says user types open phone, and then you get more into the game itself. You wouldn't really type it in the setup of the game, because what's the point? I mean, if you just typed in your name and then you quit the game, it doesn't matter if you start all the way from the beginning or not. But obviously when you get to you know, an hour into the game, you'll want to have the save game feature. So not only that, you can save your name and stuff as well. So you can just create another method in here and then put it as save guy's name. So when you type in your name, and after you type in are you sure, it'll put gs.savename, whatever the name you typed in over there. So it's really easy to handle with saving options and stuff. It's basically exactly the same thing, and you just create a new method, same as the save game, but save name, and then you change save point to save name or whatever. Create a variable when you type in your name, and I mean, it's really not that difficult to do at all. If you guys are struggling, leave a comment in the description. I'll explain it in a bit more detail or something, I'm not too sure. Okay, so now that we have that done, what we need to cater for is if the user types in something that cannot be accepted, like this question right here where it says 1 is for yes and 2 is for no. If the guy types in 3, we need to be able to handle that. So with switch and case comes a nice little method called, well, not really a method, but a function, I guess, called default. So default is if it doesn't match case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, case 5, it'll revert to the default, and that'll just do whatever. It's basically the same thing as else when you're working with if and else. So if user.equals in no case exit, it'll exit the game. Otherwise, if he types in anything else, it'll do whatever's over here. So basically default is the same thing as else. So let's type in default. Don't forget the 2 brackets, whatever it's called, and then break. So it's like another case. Okay, so if you don't type in what's acceptable, it'll print out something like system.out.println. It'll leave 2 spaces, or let's leave 1 space, and it'll type in I do not understand your request. Now what you guys can do is you can create a random method which will generate a random string to output to the user if something is not acceptable. Like you can have one that says I do not understand your request. You can have another one that says your request does not meet our standards. Please try again, or whatever. You can have multiple different ones using math.random, but that's up to you guys to use. So it's going to print out I do not understand your request. Then it's going to change question to I think it's question is equal to 2. Yeah, I think it should be 2. Oops. And what will happen now is that if it goes to the default, it'll tell you that it does not understand your request. Question will equal to 2, and then when it's going through the switch, question will be 2. It'll skip 0, 1, 1A, and it'll go to 2, and it'll ask you the same question again. So let's run our game. You're still a bit groggy from the drinks. Are you sure that this is your name? Let's type in 3. You guys can see it says I don't understand your request, and then you have to type in. Damn it! You have to type. It's not asking the question again. So let's fix this. Oh, okay. I made a mistake. It shouldn't be case 2 because case 2 is waiting for a reply. So let's go with case 1A. Press Ctrl S, run the game. So now it asks, are you still a bit groggy from the drinks? Because remember, that's where we saved our game. Let's type in the number 3, and then it says, I do not understand your request. Then it'll ask you the question again. If you type in that, it'll tell you, I do not understand your request. And then you have to type in the correct thing. So you can type in 1 for yes or 2 for no. Completely up to you. So that's how you create a save game, and also how to handle questions like these, which the user can type in anything and your code will essentially break because you don't have anything to handle that. So that's what the default is nice for. You have switch, case, and default. Default is like the else, and it works really well. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. If you guys did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you tomorrow in the next tutorial. Bye.